The briefing room clock ticked past 3 p.m., its faint hum swallowed by the restless shuffle of journalists crammed into the tight space. Karoline Leavitt stood at the podium, her tailored red suit a bold slash against the muted gray of the Washington, D.C. afternoon filtering through the windows. The crimson fabric hugged her frame, a deliberate choice. Powerful, unapologetic, a signal she wasn't here to blend in. She adjusted the microphone, her hazel eyes sweeping the room. Cameras lined the back wall, their lenses trained on her like a firing squad, and the air buzzed with barely contained energy. It was her third briefing that week, and the stakes had never been higher. Where are you watching from? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and please complete our 1,000 subscribers for more inspiring stories. 3 days earlier, President Trump had ignited a political storm with two seismic announcements: Dan Bongino as Deputy FBI Director and General C.Q. Brown Jr.'s ouster as Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. The press had been clawing for answers ever since, and Karoline, 28, sharp and unyielding, was the wall between them and the Oval Office. She'd been Trump's press secretary for just 6 months, a rapid ascent from her days as Senator James Carver's aide, but she'd already earned a reputation: cool under fire, quick with a rebuttal, and fiercely loyal to the administration's mission. Today, though, the room felt different: electric, hostile, a coiled spring ready to snap. She exhaled, steadying herself against the podium's edge. "Good afternoon, everyone," she said, her voice cutting through the din like a blade. "Let's get started." Hands shot up, a forest of eager fingers, but she pointed to John Mickelson from the Washington Post, a wiry veteran with graying hair and a knack for digging deep. "John, you're up." He adjusted his glasses, his tone measured but pointed. "Karoline, let's talk FBI. The president's tapped Dan Bongino as deputy director. Reports say Kash Patel told GOP senators the pick would be a current special agent. Bongino's not that. Why him? And was Patel off base with that assurance?" The room fell silent, pens hovering over notepads. Karoline's lips twitched faintly, not a smile, but a flicker of resolve. She'd braced for this. Bongino's name had set off a firestorm. Liberals branded him a right-wing agitator. Conservatives cheered him as a reformer. She leaned into the mic, her voice steady but edged with steel. "If any of you have actually listened to Dan Bongino, really listened, you'd know exactly why he's here. He spent years exposing corruption at the FBI, drawing on his time in the Secret Service where he risked his life for this country. He's a patriot who served in ways most people in this room can't imagine. The president chose him because he understands the depth of rot in these institutions, rot the American people re-elected Trump to rip out." A murmur rippled through the crowd. She pressed on, her tone sharpening. "And let me say this. It's disgusting, honestly, despicable, how some of you have plastered far-right podcaster across your screens. That's not who he is. He's a former law enforcement officer, a Secret Service vet who protected presidents while you were chasing clicks. He's an outsider to this Washington swamp, and that terrifies people here. It should. Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, and Attorney General Bondi are laser-focused on dismantling the corruption and ending the weaponization of government for good." John scribbled, his face unreadable, but another hand darted up. Sarah Klein from CNN, her blonde bob framing a scowl. "Follow up, Karoline. The Pentagon move, replacing General C.Q. Brown Jr. Why? Trump called him great at his swearing in. What changed?" Karoline's jaw tightened briefly, then eased. She had anticipated this, too. "The president thinks he's dropping the ball. The Pentagon's flunked 7 audits, 7 straight failures. Trust in our military's tanking among the warfighters, and Trump's shaking things up. Secretary Leading's driving it, and it's the president's prerogative. Administrations swap joint chiefs all the time. The replacement says it all." Sarah's frown deepened, but Karoline waved her off, pointing to James Carter from Reuters, a lanky Brit with a sly grin and a penchant for foreign policy traps. "James, go," he smirked. "Feeling generous today, Karoline?" She shot back a tight smile, her red suit catching the light. "Don't make me regret it. What's your question?" He nodded, then plunged in. "Russia-Ukraine talks. Macron's visit. He heaped praise on Trump, but hinted any deal Must not be a surrender for Ukraine. Yet all we've heard, minerals, NATO ambitions, suggest Ukraine's conceding. Nothing on Russian giveaways. Can you assure us this won't be lopsided? That Putin's bending too? The room tensed, a collective inhale. Karoline paused, her fingers brushing the podium's edge. This was dicey. Negotiations were live, and one wrong word could derail them. The president's the best deal-maker this office has ever seen, she said, her voice deliberate. He knows a deal means both sides sit down, and a good one leaves everyone a little raw. I'm not here to outline concessions. Those talks are fluid, and I won't sabotage them from this spot. But Trump's making headway, real headway, to end this war. He wants the killing stopped, young men slaughtered for too long because of the last administration's failures. He's all in for peace, in Ukraine and the Middle East. You've heard some pieces, but he's not showing his full hand yet. Believe me, he's got this. James raised an eyebrow, unconvinced, but she shifted gears before he could push. One more thing, she said, her tone lifting. Trump promised in his inaugural that America would manufacture again. Liberals mocked him. They're quiet now. After his Oval sit-down with Tim Cook, Apple's committing $500 billion over 4 years, 20,000 jobs across Arizona, California, everywhere. That's on top of $1 trillion plus in pledged investments. And the border? Last Saturday, illegal crossings hit 220, a 15-year low, down 94% from last year. Interior arrests? Up 134%. That's Trump's America, booming and secure. She stepped back, a faint smile breaking through. Good to see you all. Catch you next time. Shouts erupted, questions piling over each other. But she turned, her red suit astreak as she exited, heels echoing down the hall. In her office, Karoline sank into her chair, the briefing's rush fading into a dull ache behind her eyes. Her phone buzzed. Matt, her deputy, texting. CNN's already framing Bongino as unqualified. Counter? She sighed, massaging her temples. She'd poured herself into that defense. Bongino wasn't some loudmouth. He'd bled for this country. But the press didn't care. They'd twist it, churn it, and move on. The door creaked open. Senator James Carver shuffled in, his once robust frame hunched from months of battling as an independent governor candidate, a bid that had crashed and burned. Caught your show, he rasped, leaning on the frame. You're a force, Leavitt, but they'll bury Bongino, and drag you down too. She met his gaze, unflinching. Let them try. Trump picked him for a reason. I'm not here to play defense. Carver chuckled, a dry, weary sound. You're me 10 years ago, before this place chewed me up. Watch yourself. As he left, her phone lit up, clips of her briefing trending, hashtags like number Leavitt lies and number Bongino FBI exploding. She smirked faintly. The fight was on. Hours later, Karoline stood by her office window, the D.C. skyline a patchwork of lights against the night. Her red jacket hung on the chair, sleeves creased from the day's grind. She'd skipped dinner, again, sustained by coffee and the briefing's afterglow. But the quiet didn't last. Matt burst in, his tie loose, phone in hand. You need to see this. He thrust the screen toward her. A Politico headline, Trump's FBI pick sparks, GOP Senate revolt. Her stomach tightened. What now? Matt scrolled, voice clipped. 3 senators, Haynes, Morrow, and Tate, are pissed. Say Patel sold them a line about an insider pick and Bongino's blindsided them. They're threatening to tank his confirmation. Karoline's mind raced. She'd defended Bongino publicly, staked her credibility on it. If the Senate fractured, it'd be her mess to clean. Get me Patel, she snapped. Matt hesitated. He's dodging calls. Hold up with Trump. She cursed under her breath, grabbing her coat. Then I'm going to him. The West Wing was a maze of hushed corridors and flickering sconces as she strode through, her heels clicking with purpose. She found Kash Patel in a corner office, tie undone, poring over a stack of files. He looked up, his dark eyes narrowing. Leavitt, what's this? A midnight ambush? She didn't sit. Your senator stunt's blowing up my briefing. Haynes and Morrow are ready to bolt over Bongino. What did you tell them? Patel leaned back, unfazed. I said we'd pick someone who knows the FBI inside out. Bongino does, better than any suit in there now. They heard current agent Kash, not a retired guy with a podcast. Patel smirked. Their hearing's their problem. He's the guy, Trump's guy. You sold it fine today. She crossed her arms, her red jacket swaying slightly. I sold it because I believed it. If they sink him, it's on me too. He stood, meeting her glare. They won't. Trump's twisting arms tonight. Relax, Leavitt. You're not the fall guy here. She didn't budge. Better not be. I don't lose. Back in her office, exhaustion hit like a wave, but sleep wasn't an option. She pulled up the Politico piece, skimming the quotes. Patel misled us. Bongino's a gamble we didn't sign up for. Her phone buzzed again. Her sister Emily from New Hampshire. Saw you on TV. You okay? Looked like a war zone. Karoline texted back, just another day. I'm fine. A lie. But Emily didn't need the truth. The next morning, the briefing room was a repeat. Same faces, sharper edges. Sarah Klein pounced first. Karoline, senators are balking at Bongino. Did the White House misjudge the support? Karoline gripped the podium, her red suit a beacon. The president's got the votes. Bongino's the right man. Period. Some grumbling doesn't change that. James Carter jumped in. And the Russia talks. Any Russian concessions yet? She held firm. The president's working it. Peace takes time, not sound bites. The questions kept coming. A barrage she parried with precision, but the doubt lingered. Her own, not theirs. That night, alone again, she watched the news ticker. Senate confirms Bongino in narrow vote. Relief washed over her, tinged with fatigue. Carver's warning echoed. This place breaks you. But she straightened, her red suit draped over the chair like armor. She'd won this round. The war was far from over. Thank you for watching till the end video. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you did, don't hesitate to like the video and share it with your friends too. Subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell for more fascinating stories.